Donald Trump thinks he can run from the Epstein files. He cannot. It does not matter how many times Donald Trump tries to shut down Congress, hide one of his Epstein-connected cabinet members or associates from the Oversight Committee, or claim he knows nothing about the files. Donald Trump's administration is the Epstein administration. Donald Trump is the Epstein files. He cannot escape them, especially when those files seem to follow him absolutely everywhere he goes. And that is exactly what happened today, on the golf course. Donald Trump's favorite place in the world. That is where an Epstein secret came out, a secret about efforts to intimidate the very survivors who have been speaking out against Donald Trump. And I want to get into all of it. But it starts with what Ro Khanna said on my brand new Sunday show, alongside Midas Touch, laying out the accountability that needs to happen before we get to the golf course Epstein incident that Trump desperately does not want anyone talking about. Khanna made it clear that the Oversight Committee has been effectively neutralized, as much as Mike Johnson and James Comer could manage, blocking anyone from testifying under oath and preventing any new information from entering the congressional record. He raised a direct question. Does that level of obstruction from Comer and Johnson rise to the level of obstruction of justice? And should there be real legal accountability for it? His answer was clear. The accountability must come for Kash Patel, Todd Blanche, Pam Bondi, and the justice officials involved. But what Comer has done is turn this entire thing into a partisan exercise. He spent 2 to 3 months chasing the Clintons, people who have not held office in 20 years, and yet he did not get Pam Bondi under oath. Her testimony was never made public. Howard Lutnick was never put under oath either. His testimony was never made public. Comer has not called the FBI officials who scrubbed these files. He has not called anyone from the Justice Department to explain why there have been 0 prosecutions. As Khanna put it, this is not about going after Comer or Johnson politically. The goal is justice for survivors. And this Congress, just like they have done with so many other things under the Trump administration, has chosen to cover it up. That is why we need Robert Garcia as chair. That is why we need Hakeem Jeffries as speaker. And that is why we need a dedicated Epstein subcommittee that will actually hold the FBI and the Justice Department accountable for breaking the law. It was a great conversation with Congressman Khanna on the Sunday show with Midas Touch. And he was absolutely right. Honestly, I would like to see everyone push even further when it comes to accountability. Because if we are being completely honest, the only way this actually moves forward is if Republicans are genuinely frightened of the consequences. If we clearly state that Mike Johnson and James Comer have engaged in obstruction of justice, that their staff has tampered with witnesses, attempted to intimidate survivors, and should be prosecuted for it, I believe that would send a very real chill through a lot of people at the DOJ and on Capitol Hill. And that is how we actually get accountability. That, and never shutting up about it. We should always be talking about Epstein, just like Jon Ossoff did right here, especially given what happened with Trump today, which we are going to get to in just a moment. We should always be talking about the Epstein files. We are in the middle of a serious political battle right now because of those files. Donald Trump is building a ballroom that was very likely funded, at least in part, by money connected to people Trump is shielding from Epstein accountability. All of these things are connected. The distractions, the look over there moments. All of it is designed to keep our eyes off the files.
He promised to bring down prices on day one. Instead, prices are soaring. Ground beef's up 25% since Trump was sworn in. Coffee, 40%. The price of gas, 33%. Groceries, rent, healthcare, and the power bill hit their new all-time highs last month. And while you pay more for everything, Donald Trump wants your tax dollars for what many are calling the Jeffrey Epstein Memorial Ballroom. By the way, he forced out that Republican congressman, the one who made him release the Epstein files. Did you see that? That is true commitment to the cover-up.
Donald Trump literally blocked Pam Bondi from testifying under oath. He prevented her from being recorded by the House Oversight Committee. He effectively shut down Congress because he did not want anyone talking about Epstein. But as I keep saying, this is the Epstein administration, and Epstein follows them absolutely everywhere, including to the golf course, in this deeply disturbing incident. Patriot Takes, an account on the Midas Touch network, reported that RFK Jr. and pro-Trump influencer Lady Victoria Hervey appeared to be at Trump's golf club. And Hervey has a very well-documented history of publicly attacking Epstein survivors. The account added a quote from Hervey in which she stated that if you are not in the Epstein files, it would actually be an insult, because it simply means you were a bit of a nobody. So let us be very clear about what we are dealing with here. this woman is openly attacking Epstein survivors. She is spending time with Donald Trump. She is spending time with RFK Jr., a man who openly bragged about being on Epstein's plane and openly acknowledged knowing him closely. And on top of all that, she is out here saying that being in the Epstein files is actually a status symbol, that it meant you were someone, that it meant you had a social life. Doing what exactly? Committing sex crimes against children. That is the social life she is referring to. That is what being well known around town meant in that world. And these people have absolutely no shame about any of it. This fits perfectly into something I have always pointed out about the dismissive way RFK Jr. responds whenever he is confronted about his close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He always delivers some version of the same line. Well, it was just Palm Beach, everybody knew each other. Or it was just New York City, everybody knew each other. What he really means is, everyone who was involved in those crimes knew each other. Everyone in that circle knew each other. And this woman is completely shameless about being part of that world. So shameless that she attacks Epstein survivors publicly and regularly, and then shows up at Donald Trump's golf course, socializing with members of his cabinet. This is the Epstein administration. There is simply no question about it. And I think it is critically important that we keep talking about this, especially now, when the conversation about obstruction of justice is so urgent, when attacks on survivors and potential witnesses are happening openly. People who could come forward with personal accounts, with stories, with information that goes beyond what is even in the files. Donald Trump is not just hiding documents, he is silencing people who could speak from their own personal experience. And that is exactly why he is going after them. And that is why what Ro Khanna laid out in this next clip about the actual documents is so important. Ro Khanna is absolutely right, as he consistently is when it comes to the Epstein files, particularly on these missing documents and the selective redactions coming from Kash Patel. And because of that, it is equally important that we recognize and discuss how certain parts of these files have actually been deliberately unredacted, not to help survivors, but to target them, to go after the very people who want to speak out. How many Jane Does were listed in those files and suddenly had their names exposed to the public? Kash Patel called it a mistake. He told anyone affected to just let them know if it happened. Todd Blanche said the same thing.
Well, first of all, on a human level, I wished her well in her recovery from cancer. What we wanted here was just answers to help the survivors. And what she told us is that Todd Blanche was really managing the whole thing. So we need to ask Todd Blanche questions. She also told us, surprisingly, that the FBI it scrubbed a lot of the documents or held a lot of the documents before they got to the Justice Department. That means that we need to ask Kash Patel, why were those documents redacted or what documents were missing? And then finally, when pressed on whether some of the individuals should be prosecuted, whether they should be investigated, she deferred to Jay Clayton, who's the U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York. And so we need to ask him, what is going to happen to the people who raped or abused or trafficked the victims?
Pam Bondi said the same thing. And then all three of them essentially admitted it would keep happening. Why? Because they wanted it to happen. They wanted survivors to get the message loud and clear. This is going to keep happening, so stop pushing for the files. We will put you through that trauma all over again, so stop asking questions. This is a deliberate and calculated campaign being carried out by the DOJ, by Blanche, by Bondi, by Patel, by Trump, and by every Republican in Congress who is helping cover this up. The message they are sending to survivors is simple. If you speak out, we will hurt you. We will expose information that traumatizes you all over again. So this is not just a story about what remains hidden in those files. It is equally a story about what was deliberately made public as a tool of intimidation, to frighten witnesses, to silence them, to block justice from being served. And every single person involved in that effort should be prosecuted. At the DOJ, at the FBI, and on Capitol Hill, congressional staffers who participated in this cover-up should be named. They should be held accountable. Every single one of them. This is a much bigger story than most people realize.
Stories are both horrific and outrageous, but they should also inspire us to keep fighting for the full truth. We're here because every American deserves equal justice. It doesn't matter who you are, how powerful you are, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, how much wealth you may have. If you hurt women and girls, you will be held accountable. We should also be very clear that Epstein was not alone. Others enabled him. We know he was surrounded by lawyers, accountants, private investigators, and assistants. Many of those people who have been forced to testify for the first time because of our investigation have given us key information, whether it's been through depositions or interviews. But some, even some that we've recently spoken with, were never contacted by law enforcement in the 30 years since Maria Farmer's first report. Why is it only now that we have begun these interviews, these depositions, that folks are being contacted for the first time in decades? And that should outrage every single American. Some of these men enabled financial crimes. Others fought to hide facts about this case and to deny justice and closure for survivors. All of these people need to be called out and held accountable. And these are failures of multiple governments and administrations. Regardless of party, everyone has failed the public, and certainly everyone has failed the survivors, especially those that sought justice and that had the ability and courage to file reports. Because we also know that so many others didn't have that opportunity or the support to do so. This is why we're here today.
As I keep saying, this is the Epstein administration. But it is also what Ro Khanna, John Ossoff, and many others have rightly called the Epstein class. It is a broader network of people. And this is not just about holding the people at the very top responsible. It is about holding everyone accountable. Everyone who allowed this to happen, everyone who supported it, and everyone who personally profited from it. And that is exactly what Robert Garcia was talking about in this clip right here. The intimidation has always been part of the plan. The threats have always been built into this from the very beginning. And we have to go after every single person who is making those threats. That is exactly what Robert Garcia is doing. And that is exactly what we are going to keep talking about right here on this show. If you want to support that work, as always, hit that subscribe button and leave a like on this video. If you made it all the way to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, everyone. Do not let them silence you.